Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. My name is Steve, otherwise known as Pin, and today we're going to take a look at probably one of the most highly anticipated ships to arrive in the Star Citizen universe. I am of course talking about the Drake Corsair, a ship which packs a ridiculous amount of DPS for the pilot. It also sports that unique asymmetric three-wing design which really does give it this glorious sci-fi look that we all crave from this game. It is a very cool looking ship, and I am very much happy that it is in and around players' hands now and everybody is out enjoying the Corsair with a respectable price point, it has to be said. So, what is Drake Corsair? The Drake Corsair is a multi-crew explorer that gives up defences for a focus on versatility and firepower. With asymmetric convertible wings and a large cargo hold, the Corsair adapts to harsh environments, combat situations and hot landing zones with equal ease. Up to 4 crew can be accommodated in the Corsair's functional quarters, and a full complement of scanning suites along with a pair of quantum fuel tanks provide the means and method of exploring distant and dangerous stars. It boasts 6 fixed guns, 3 turrets along with 4 missile racks for an impressive array of firepower in an exploration vessel, enough to make even the hardiest pirate think twice. Furthermore, the lateral turrets can fully point forward, adding to the already impressive frontal firepower of the ship. Top flight crew quarters and a full complement of state-of-the-art scanning suites combine to provide a powerful exploration platform. Rear ramp and vehicle storage, with enough room for either a ground exploration vehicle or a bounty of cargo. The Corsair's hold is vast and versatile. Since its earliest days, humankind has been captivated by the unknown, seeking the means to explore it, to uncover its mysteries and perhaps conquer it for themselves. The romance and danger of deep space exploration continue to fascinate us, coalescing into the undeniable spirit of adventure that calls to us all. That spirit thrives in the Corsair, Drake's steadfast new explorer, returning yet again to the well of concentrated consumer outreach that produced the Vulture and the Kraken. Our engineers and designers have built an expedition-focused ship as dedicated as the people we conceived it for, and in the process we created another unyielding testament to the will of the UEE and the empowering values of Drake. Embrace this spirit with us as we set sail into the unknown. You never know who the next Nick Croshaw might be. With Drake at your side and the wind in your sails, it could be you. Are you among those that only feel truly at home in navigating the stars, for whom being planet locked is a fate worse than death? Do you hear the songs of far-off galaxies calling through the steely silence of space, pulling you ever forward towards systems uncharted and frontiers untamed? Do you seek to embody the very spirit of adventure, the bold, indomitable will of humankind, dauntless in its relentless pursuit of fortune, expansion and knowledge? If you do, the Corsair is your ship. You never know what threats may lie beyond the next quantum jump. With an abundance of versatile weapon mounts, port and starboard manned turrets, and enough missiles to make even the hardiest pirate think twice, the Corsair is more than capable of holding its own. What else would you expect from a ship built for the unexpected? The Corsair is built for the unknown and excels at reconnaissance, extraction and delivery in the furthest and least predictable reaches of space, thanks to a large hold capable of stowing a small vehicle or massive amount of cargo, and specially designed asymmetrical convertible wings. The Corsair adapts gracefully to unfamiliar atmospheres, combat situations and hot landing zones. Built to explore. Take exploration into the next century with top flight crew quarters, a full complement of state-of-the-art scanning suites and a flexible cargo bay. In the Corsair, you don't need to sacrifice comfort for capability. Man the helm. With Drake's now legendary perpendicular cockpit configuration, both you and your co-pilot enjoy the unfettered visibility and maximum synergy. The patented articulated arm offers incredible ease of access, so you're always ready to jump into the action should the need arise. All hands on deck. Who says extended space travel has to be arduous and uncomfortable? The roomy and functional cabin offers exceptional comfort whether you're on extended mission or you call the Corsair home. I find that really odd that they're bragging about comfortability in a Drake ship. I find that very weird that they've included that snippet in through the brochure. If you want to read through the brochure, of course, we'll link it in the description below the like button. But that's very weird for Drake to be bragging about comfortability when we all know it's just pure function. There is a severe lackluster comfortable edge to any Drake ship, yet alone in the Corsair. So it's very interesting why they've included that. So it would appear that the Corsair is in fact a direct competitor to the Constellation variety of ships that we can get from Robert Space Industries. This is Drake saying, hey, RSI, listen up. We've built a ship. It's freaking awesome. You're not the only one that can build exploration ships. And they've done it. It looks exceptional, this ship. The detail on it is amazing. The whole asymmetric look, the wings, the raw brutality that you get from the numerous weapon systems, all controlled by the pilot, make for good times. We will see how versatile this ship is going to be in the future. And I do feel it is a ship that will be right at home in Pyro when we eventually get that system, which hopefully won't be too far away. I do think that this ship will just look amazing docked on a broken space station with all the outlaws running around. I think the Drake Corsair will be right at home. So very impressive, and my first impressions, I was very pleased with it when I saw three of them stacked next to each other in, of course, the IAE event that's currently ongoing, and it does look incredible, and to have three of them side by side was a very nice touch. A lot of hype for this ship for good reason. Not everybody's a fan, which is a good thing, because we like to have variety, you know. If everyone liked the same thing, it'd be a pretty boring scenario to be in. But for me, it looks the business. It looks just so mean. Venomous. A venomous looking ship. Very cool looking indeed. So let's briefly touch on the price point. So for real cash monies, it will set you back roughly $255, which I think is a very respectable price for what this ship offers. When it comes to the price in-game, I don't know what it would be yet, but if I had to hazard a guess, I imagine they will market it around the Constellation Aquila price, probably a little bit cheaper, to reflect the real life price that it sells for on the website. But you do get, in my opinion, $255 is a very respectable price point for this ship. It does offer you a lot for your money. Especially if you compare it to the nonsense that is the Cutlass Steel, which is $235 for some reason, then this ship is almost certainly a no-brainer for most people. Why would you pick a Cutlass Steel over this ship for the sake of $20? I just don't know. Of course, money is subjective, but you're getting a lot of ship for that price point, and it is fairly impressive in that regard. It just looks the bee's knees, doesn't it? And with the weapons dripping off the front of this ship, it looks poised and ready to do some serious damage. We have improved lights on this. There's a lot of gripes. Different manufacturers have lights that don't work as well as others. I can safely assure you that the lights on the Corsair are fantastic. It does also have landing lights, which is excellent for those dark planet side landings. We can see where we're going now. 6 engines as well, which is nice, and I do believe the recently released Cutter shares these engines. I am currently working on a video for that, because that Cutter is also a fantastic little ship. So we have 6 engines. They look flamey, very similar to the Drake Caterpillar. I like that look. The rear bottom engine is in fact a VTOL engine, and then of course we have this excellent flame out from the reverse thrusters, which is a very nice touch. That looks really super cool, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. So gold standard from the get-go. looks amazing. Obviously, being asymmetric, it has different metrics in terms of size. We have that large parking sensor on the large wing. It just looks really nice. That's my opinion. Not everyone likes it, like I said, but there's a lot of hype surrounding this ship for good reason. I think it's incredible value for money. This ship, for me, though, will really come into its own around Pyro. We will see just how the shape of this ship fits in. I can imagine these being docked at broken space stations, Ninetales, pirates, mercenaries, all using this ship for good reason. The firepower being predominantly one, of course, for exploring the backs of other people's cargo bays. Still going to be very interesting to see how that pans out, but the Corsair, in my opinion, will almost certainly fit in at Pyro. Outstanding ship and excellent level of detail they've created here with this particular vessel. Okay, let's talk about the wing configuration and landing gear. Now, these are now both independent of each other, so one button won't operate both the landing gear and the animation of the wings folding in and out. So you can manipulate the wings with left Alt and K. There is also a button in the cockpit below the bottom left MFD to operate the wings. Just be aware that if you have the landing gear out and then manipulate the wings, the landing gear will remain deployed, which is something that they were talking about in the past that they wanted to resolve. So I'm pleased to inform you that that now is a thing. So don't forget that your landing gear will not retract with the wings, and it is in fact a separate input. But the wing animation itself is actually a lot faster and very smooth than I thought it was going to be. So even the parking sensor at the top there manipulates around the Corsair's wing formation, and it's very nicely done, very impressive, and it makes it very easy to identify what the ship is that you're looking at with this wing configuration. Whether they're out or retracted, you know exactly what you're looking at. There's no mistaking coming across a Corsair. It's just too easy to identify. I do like that we have 72 SCU in the back for odd cargo, odds and ends for anything we find while we're out exploring. I also think that having an Ursa rover in there really does help sell the ship in the exploration role, especially as Drake are saying, hey, look, we can do exploration too with our elite scanning suites, as they call it. I think having that ability to have some sort of ground vehicle on board is essential and adds to the immersion and flexibility of the ship. Also, it does share some similarities with that of like the 600i in the fact that the pilot has control of at least 90% of the weapon systems found on board, which is nice for most of the solo players out there. Like myself, I predominantly play as a solo player, and having all of these potent weapon systems at the fingertips of the pilot I think is a nice touch, and that will appeal to a lot of solo players. We can swap the missiles out for different sizes. I'd be quite happy to leave it in this current configuration, just because if we're shooting at something with all of the DPS that we've got at our fingertips, I really don't feel the need to change these missiles for anything else. We also have the turrets. There was a lot of and ahhing about, oh, will they be any good? I don't like the placement. Well, they sort of extend like the hammerhead. We kind of figured that would be the case. They do point very close to the pip located in the cockpit, so they do face forward, not fully forward, so you're not going to hit fighters. But larger ships, if you've got two turret gunners both facing forward, along with the co-pilot who has access to this remote turret, all of this firepower facing forward on a larger ship, you are almost certainly going to decimate whatever you are pointing the Corsair at. The shields would drop relatively quickly, and then you can finish them off with those missiles you've got on the main large wing. So as you can see, it is devastating forward firepower. Let's just hope that it doesn't get any sort of nerfing ion that stops that from being a thing. If you see a Corsair coming at you and you're in a constellation or any sort of ship of that size, maybe it's time to use your brain and get out rather than try and take it head on. That would be my sort of opinion, because I think if they nerf this in any way, there's going to be outroar and outroar rage, which makes sense, you know. But we'll see. We know that the ships still need a lot of balancing in the future, so we can only wait and see. And as you can see here, these are the 2 VTOL engines as well, which is a very nice touch. I was not expecting that, but it's still very nice, considering this ship doesn't handle too good in atmosphere, in my humble opinion. So to have these is a nice touch. Okay, so let's now begin taking a look at the internals of the Drake Corsair. I'm going to start up front with this cockpit. I love the look of this cockpit, okay? It just screams sci-fi, and look what Drake have done. They have literally thrown an MFD on the floor and connected it via cables. That is so awesome. It's ridiculous. That I love that touch. That it really does give a sense of Drake. You know, there's no look. We've got no room for this MFD. What should we do? Just plug it on the floor. What's the matter with you? Stop wasting time and plug it in on the floor. We got work to do. Stop pissing about. I love that. That is brilliant. It's a very sci-fi cockpit. The MFDs look superb. The whole interior of the ship is extremely unapologetic for how untidy and exposed wiring and just rawness that you'll find in the internals of this ship. So we'll start at the back. This is of course the cargo vehicle bay area, which holds the 72 SCU. It looks much more roomy inside than it does from the outside, so that's weird how they've managed to do that. I guess that's down to its asymmetric shape in some form or another, but again, very spacious, very unapologetic. All of the cables, wiring, pipes, etc. is exposed, giving you that industrial feel that we're all used to in our Drake ships. Very reminiscent of Caterpillar interior, so anyone that owns the Cat will be familiar with this ship. We have, of course, got this scanning suite and engineering facility located in the middle of the ship, which is good if you are the engineer. Now we know there are going to be various relays throughout the ship which will also fail, but it's good for the engineer to be able to access most of the components in this one central column. It's fairly important. It looks very moody in here. I love the lighting. Pay attention to the cables running underneath the floor, the mist, the steam. Very, very cool, very sci-fi. Easy access to the components, a bit tight. We'll see how easy it is to swap those in and out. There isn't exactly a lot of room there, but enough to get the job done, I would suspect, in this area of the ship. Moving on then, we arrive at a docking collar, which is surrounded by gun rack and armor suit storage, I think, which is going to be useful. It acts as a boarding area to and from the ship, which will come in handy, I imagine. But then, thinking about that, it's a double-edged sword, because if you're the one getting boarded, then you've given the enemy immediate access to your weapons and your armor if you don't have anyone on station here. Don't forget the Legionnaire is a thing, so immediately you could get boarded and everyone robs your stuff. So we'll see how that plays out. Either way, I think it's probably the best place to have this located on the ship. Time will tell how that all unfolds. And then we come through to the dining mess hall area, and you'll see that there's the various bunks for the crew as well here, but very similar in terms of design language regarding the Caterpillar. Very basic kitchen, enough there for your 4 crew to eat and get your energy levels up, but just again very but this is why it strikes me as bizarre that in the brochure they're bragging about extreme comfortability, when in fact it is very null and void of such comfort. You know, even the bench doesn't look particularly comfortable to sit on, let's be honest. It serves a purpose. You can sit there and eat your meals with your crew, maybe debrief them or brief them. There are some monitors above there. Again, not entirely sure what they'll display. I can't imagine them being anything like TVs. I can't see you relaxing and watching a TV without breaking your neck, so I guess that's more for sort of flight path information and cargo information, possibly. We do get the shoilet, a toilet shower combo. Again, right in the mess hall, so not the best place. Yeah, but at least the door closes, unlike the Caterpillar, so that's a plus. And then, of course, in the same area, you do have the bunks for the individual crew members with a very coarse, basic needs here for your crew. So you've got some basic storage cargo net things above the bed, a tiny shelf, a big storage like walk-in wardrobe area for your flight suits and armor, possibly. So comfort, again, really not a thing. I imagine this is the sort of bunks you're going to find on the Kraken, actually. Another ship which will share similarities. So any Kraken owners out there, take heed, because I do feel that you're going to get the same bunks on that ship as well as the Corsair. Then we have this elevator, which is awesome for two reasons. One, we have these really cool old school levers, which you wouldn't think make a big difference, but they do. They add to the aesthetic, and I like them, you know. So we have the two, we have the red one to get to the surface, middle one takes you to the mess hall, and then we have another one that gives us access to the roof of the ship, which will come in handy for repairing any damage that you might have sustained up there. So that's a nice tidbit, a nice little feature of this ship that I found quite interesting, and will almost certainly have good uses in the future. Then we come to the neck of the ship. We have the two turret locations, fairly standard stuff there, which allows us access to the two turrets. Again, the visibility is not too bad for those, not as bad as I feel people were panicking about. They do give you a fairly substantial view, and we will check them out during the walk around phase of the video. And then, of course, that takes us through to the bridge cockpit area, and as you can see, we have the classic staggered formation for the pilot and the co-pilot, with the co-pilot being dropped down into the lower half of the cockpit, and he will be seated directly beneath the pilot, and he does have access to the remote turret. And we also have the captain's quarters here. Again, captain or not, you get no special treatment. It is a very basic bunk, similar to that of the rest of the crew, so don't feel like you're at privilege. You are in fact in the same bog standard sleeping quarters. There are no indicating factors here that make you feel like you're special. This is just your ship. This is where you sleep. You get a bit more privacy away from the toilet and any cooking that's going on, so you get to avoid all of those combination of smells, let's put it that way. So overall, very functional. Again, I find it bizarre that they reference comfort. There is none. Now let's talk about components that you can find on this ship and talk about the weapons. Okay, let's bring the Drake Corsair up. So we'll find it from our ship list, and there it is. And for some reason it's not rendering, but it's okay. We'll gloss over that because we know what it looks like. So we'll start with the coolers. We get two, and they are the Froststar EX. These are size 2 grade 3 coolers. I haven't had enough time to experiment with the components to get this ship to a optimal performance level. We have two power plants. These are the Daybreaks. These are size 2 grade 3. These are civilian power plants found on board the Corsair. Then we have the Quantum Drive, which is a Torrent, size 2 grade 3. I would probably change this for something that's got more range, because I look forward to taking this ship in and around Pyro. So some tweaking to be done for sure. Then we have a shield generator, which is just the one, which is a size 3 grade 3 civilian. So these are the stock components you can find on board the Corsair at this moment in time. When it comes to weapons, as we know, there are plenty. So we'll go through these. So it comes equipped with the MSD 423 missile rack, which carries the size 3 missiles that you'll find underneath the large wing of the vessel. I won't be swapping those out. I'm quite happy to keep the arresters at my disposal. But you could swap those out to tailor to your needs. I'm quite happy with the arrestor 3s. I think there's enough damage potential on this ship to quickly drop shields and finish them off with missiles, or sling the missiles and then finish them off with guns. Whichever takes your fancy, this ship is more than capable. So we have the M8A cannons here, size 4, M6A, sorry, size 4 grade 1 from Bearing. These are laser cannons. We have numerous of those, as you've seen, 4 of them at the front. We also have a size 3 variant on the wings. The 2 smaller wings located towards the rear of the vessel. Turrets, where are the turrets? This is an M5A, M6A. These are gimbaled as well, of course, so if you wanted to go super OP, you'd just slap size 5 Gatlings on the front. For memes, why not? The turrets actually have badges on them, which is nothing wrong with that. They still put out a substantial amount of DPS. Turrets do have the fire rate buff as well. So a lot of experimentation to be had with the basic stock loadout of the Corsair. I think there's a lot of tweaking that can be done here. And obviously with the large amount of weapons, you're going to have a good time tailoring this ship to your particular needs. But I think a Corsair dripping in Gatlings certainly sounds like a good time from my point of view. All very cool stuff indeed. So what we'll do now, guys, is quickly discuss some of the other components and of course talk about the metrics. So we have one size 2 radar, we have one size 2 medium computer and one size 1 computer. We have a length of 55 meters, a beam of 56, forward stroke 27, obviously because it's asymmetric, height 31 and 11 meters, combat speed of 150 meters per second and a max speed of 949 meters per second. Crew 1 to 4, role exploration, cargo 72 SCU. It also comes equipped with one size 2 medium jump module, 2 size 2 fuel intakes, 2 size 2 medium fuel tanks and 2 size 2 medium quantum fuel tanks. Okay, so we will now begin our walk around of this incredible ship and look at those landing lights. Something I think most of us will appreciate. That's a nice touch. It's glad that we're seeing these implemented now on future ships. Of course, all ships being released from new at a gold standard level. The detailing on this ship is excellent. Every rivet and panel is easy to see. It's just a very unique, ominous ship to look at and be around. There are various paints. I actually just like the stock look of this ship. It's very cool. There we have our formidable array of missiles and a giant parking sensor, but it's all very elaborate on this ship. As we make our way towards the rear of the vessel, we have 3 engines here on one side, then of course we got the other 3, and they do seem to pivot on like a little axis there, it would seem. Very cool indeed. Of course the bottom engines there do in fact act as our VTOL engines, which is nice. Landing gear is a tricycle landing gear. They are very close together and at an awkward angle. I guess that's to help with the stability, because being an asymmetrical ship, the balance isn't going to have, it's not going to have a central point of gravity as a normal standard ship would, so they're at a funny angle. But then we have the 2 extra wings on the left hand side of the vessel, which fold out, and it is a very nice animation. And then we make our way towards the front. We have the prominent turrets here, and of course those devastating weapon systems located at the front. So it's a very sleek looking machine. Very nice indeed. Bit windy today on Hurston, but it does look exquisite. And we have all these sort of aerials and things pointing out from the wings as well, which adds to that sci-fi feel, I find. So very impressive. Let's make our way into the ship then, and of course we'll start from the rear. We'll go up the ramp and make our way on board the great Drake Corsair. So in we go, and we do have floodlights on top of the cargo ramp at the back of the hull there. I don't know if you saw that. There is an access panel to operate those, so we can have some lights pointing down on what we're loading or stealing or getting the particular vehicle that we decided to store in here. So here we are in the cargo area of the ship. Again, as I said before, looks much more spacious than you actually think it's going to. We do have some components located here, so not everything is in that central column of the ship. So bear that in mind. You won't just be fixing things in that central column. There are components here that need some attention, but very unapologetic, messy. There are spaghetti cables everywhere, and I love it. So we have our access panel here, open, close, locked floodlights, and we can access the room lights in here. We have an MFD here. Doesn't display anything of anything important at the moment. Hopefully that would change in the future. We have one of our coolers located here, and a power plant, and another MFD. Again, not displaying anything that I can make sense of, but very industrial. Nicely lit though. I do like the lighting in here. It's adequate. In fact, it's fairly bright, which is a nice touch. We have a shield generator component there as well, and the ceiling nicely lit. It's just very nicely lit throughout the entire ship, I would say. In fact, we have some vents and all that good stuff. So even the ceiling looks like a scaffolding area, which is very interesting to find in the back of the Drake Corsair. Now, I do think there are some benefits to having it so bare bones and lackluster. It will be very easy to identify if you've taken any damage. I mean, there's no panels or anything for damage to hide behind, so it will be easily recognizable when you've taken damage. We then go through to the core pillar, engineering scanning suite station. We can have an MFD here. It doesn't really do anything at the moment. Hopefully that changes in the future. And again, we have the various components of the ship, but look at this detailing here. I love this. Drake on the wiring, and this steamy light that sort of emanates from underneath this central pillar. We have a fan there that's operating, cooling stuff, I imagine. Batteries, all very easily identifiable. And talking about maintenance in the future, I'm not sure if we'll have much room to pull these components out and stuff. It is quite tight, as you can see, but again, probably a very nice place for the engineer to get in and easily get on top of things that could be breaking. Like I said before, there will be relays that are also going to fail, so you won't just be confined to this area of the ship, but we do have access to the lights and all that good stuff. Again, another panel here. We have some fuel tanks and some more coolant, I think. Very engineering. We like it. So mystic in here. Very sci-fi. Very cool. Here we have the jump drive, which is nice. We get an indication of how big they will be on some ships, and it's fairly standard. Not as big as I thought a jump drive would be. So it's interesting that they've modelled that in so we can actually have a good look. The one on the Caterpillar is missing. Right, so we'll go through here. No, we won't, because I need to press the button. There we go. This takes us to the airlock area of the ship. Again, weapon rack and storage for suits, EVA suits, maybe armor. Plenty of room. It's a good place for it if you're going to commence boarding actions. Again, I do think it's a double-edged sword. If someone attempts to board your ship, then they have access to your armor and extra weapons. So you might want to be a little bit vigilant with that. Again, nice animations, weapon rack there, plenty of weapons, good stowage, fairly easy, nicely lit, very basic again, but a nice function to have on the Corsair, because this ship is going to be the bane of a lot of people, I feel. This does open, and we can open this. It takes us to the beautiful outside. Very windy today. Now, to shut this, I think this is the only oversight. Look, there's no button in here that I could find that retracts that docking collar or door. or however you, but I just don't see a button to close. This lever here shuts this door behind you. So a little bit of an oversight there, because I can't find a button here to help close that. You have to lean outside the ship. So that's my only small complaint. I think that's a little bit of an oversight. That does need a button or something to make life a little bit easier. Other than that, not really a complaint, is it? It's just a minor aggro situation, that is. So we'll close that like so. So a very important area of the ship. Also, the other thing with this, because it's located to the engineering station so quickly, if you do get boarded, they have access to your components. So sabotage is also something you might wish to look out for. Just saying, because someone could sneak on board and cause havoc with the internal systems of the ship. Here we have the mess hall then, very, very familiar with the Caterpillar in terms of kitchen layout. Very basic. There is nothing fancy here. You are going to come here, eat, sleep, use the toilet, and that is it. There's very little to do otherwise. Very basic food, amenities, hot drinks, all that stuff. No microwave or anything fancy. Then we do have this table here with the seating arrangement, easily housing 4 of you. I think, again, that doesn't look particularly comfortable. And here we have the toilet, which you can lock, which is very handy. Not sure I like the idea of that being so close to where you're eating, to be honest, but you have to sacrifice space in some areas of the ship, and this is what they've done. It's the same with the Caterpillar. At least this door shuts. It does not on the Caterpillar, which is a bit unfortunate, but basic toilet system in there, and you can control the door from the inside as well. And then moving on, we have crew quarters. So let's take a look in here. If I hit the button, there we go. So again, very bizarre, like bragging about the comfort, where for me it's like they've never been in an Origin ship at all, because it's not comfortable. I can't. Long journeys could be fairly tedious in the Corsair, to be quite honest with you. We will see how it all plays out. Long journeys could be very tedious on board this ship. There is not a lot to do. It is not the most comfortable place to sit. It's very functional, the ship, I get it, but yes, long journeys could indeed be quite tedious. And then we have this really cool elevator. Now, no one has ever said that in the history of elevators, because, you know, who gets excited about elevators? But it is pretty awesome. So we have the 3 levers. We'll take this one to the roof. Now this is going to be extremely useful for all kinds of roles. You know, basic welding and repairs. The ship's moving because it's windy as hell. But yeah, it's don't worry, everything's under control. Don't forget, these wings that fold up do act as sails, so that is something you might want to look out for. We are going to go back down because I don't want this ship to kill me by rolling over. We'll go back down quickly, but yeah, just keep that in mind. But that will be useful for maybe patching repairs with a welding gun and things of that nature. Could be interesting. And then of course we go to the neck of the ship. We have the 2 turret locations in here, so we will jump in one of these seats. In we get, and then we're down and forced out. We have 3 MFDs and access to our weapon systems here, which of course are the badges, and we have the normal stuff that you would find: gyro, fire mode, increase, decrease sensitivity, all of that good stuff. Visibility, not too bad. The struts are not that bad at all. You're not really going to notice it. Power on and power off buttons, as you can see towards the rear of the ship, not brilliant at all, but towards the front of the ship, that's fairly good. Like I said, if you're attacking a large ship and you've got 2 crew on these guns, that is a ridiculous amount of DPS being pointed at that large ship, especially if you get close enough. I can see the Corsair taking down much bigger prey than itself, especially if it's crewed. So not the best mobility in terms of protection of the rear of the ship, but again reinforcing the DPS at the front of the vessel. It's by no means the most effective turrets that we'll find on ships, but it is, in my opinion, adequate. So we'll hop out the turret and then we'll make our way towards the bridge cockpit area. So in here, this is the captain's quarters. We'll open this up, and as you can see, no special treatment. Captain or not, you are part of the crew. Don't expect any luxuries whatsoever, because you are not getting them. Get over it. This is Drake. And then we have the staggered seat system. We'll jump in this co-pilot seat because it's cool as hell. Even the animation is awesome. Down we go, slide forward, boom, straight into some MFDs and a HOTAS system, which is very, very cool. And we are now directly underneath the pilot, so this is cool. We have multiple MFDs, buttons, all the good stuff. I like the landing gear lever as well. We can enter the remote turret here, which is at the back of the vessel. And this offers a bit more protection towards the rear. There is no gun depression towards the rear of the ship, so underneath the Drake Corsair it is extremely vulnerable. The speed of the turret is fine, and it does automatically pivot around the wing in this configuration. Obviously when this wing is deployed you won't have that issue, but it's good to know that you're not going to shoot your own wings off by accident. And that's for both wings. And again, it does face forward. So with a crew and the co-pilot and the two turrets, there is a hell of a lot of firepower looking forward. So a solo operated Corsair is a threat. A crewed Corsair is a death sentence. We have the various buttons and MFDs that's shared with the pilot, so we get the same control systems here. Visibility with the struts is not brilliant, but we do get to see these awesome cannons in action when they are being fired. So a very cool place to sit, and I think a lot of people are going to have fun with this ship with their friends. I really do see this being a go-to multi-crew ship. Very nice indeed. Love the MFDs and the buttons and the basic run out of the MFDs with all the buttons and stuff. It just looks awesome. So that's the co-pilot seat, and then we move front to the pilot seat here with that MFD on the floor, which is, I love that. I think that's such a cool improvisation, just held in place with a metal bar and wired in with some random cables. So in the pilot seat then, and again, great MFDs, great buttons. The gear deploy handle looks very similar from the A10 Warthog, and this does actually work. Okay, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to get to, but it works nonetheless. They've just thrown that on the floor and go, it works, what's the problem? So we do have access to that. Great little feature. I'm very happy with that MFD on the floor. Such a simple thing. We have various buttons here: disable ESP, cruise control, all that good stuff. Everything you'd find in all the other ships is here, and good to see that these have been assigned actual switches on the cockpit, because in the future we should be getting full fidelity interactable cockpits. We'll see how far they can take that with the functionality. HOTAS system, engine off, engine on. Again, that looks very similar to a Warthog HOTAS. We have spool quantum drive, various weapon station switches here, 2 keyboards, which is awesome, and a fan, which is also a nice touch, and that's also found in the Hind DCS cockpit. So I think they've borrowed quite a lot from DCS in certain aspects. No complaints here, because it is pretty freaking awesome. Visibility of everything is at your fingertips, so it's nice and easy to read, easy to reach. Headlights on and off, and again, that fan is definitely out of the DCS Hind. I like it. So a very impressive cockpit, easy to read, everything's at your fingertips, nicely displayed. I've always been a fan of the Drake MFDs. There's no exception here. Visibility, excellent. The struts are not too impeding until you look left or right, but front view, no complaints. Can't really see it being hindering in any way. Not that much that you're going to notice. Can't see the floor, obviously, because the co-pilot is underneath when he's in that station. But overall, a very great cockpit design, a very good ship. It's a very good ship. I'm glad it's here. So that, guys, is going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location soon. Cheers.